so it's 12:30 Eastern on the dot, 11:30 Central, 9:30 Pacific. Let's get started, okay, Celeste?
Sounds good.
Okay, perfect. So good afternoon and good morning, everyone tuning in to this IB webinar today. I'll reintroduce myself. My name is Tara. I work with IB. And for those of you who are new to IB, IB is community and business management software for designers. And designers use our software to create and send proposals, create tear sheets, invoice clients online, track and bill for hours, PO your vendors, and all of that fun stuff. But other than just a software, we have a very thriving, vibrant community, and we've become a destination for education for designers. So every Wednesday, we host a webinar for you to learn the different ways you can manage your business more efficiently and more profitably. So today, I'm really excited to welcome Celeste Jackson to the IB webinar stage. She's been a residential designer for over 28 years, and she actually uses IB herself. And this year, she also launched an interior design mentoring business called Gingerline Design. And she offers mentoring packages to you to give you specific direction about how you can grow your business. So today, Celeste will focus on how you can master the art of sales of decorative window treatments, and she'll discuss why window treatments can be an asset to your business, how to select a quality workroom, how to present window treatments to your clients with confidence, and how to effectively price window treatments. So she'll be taking the stage for the next 45 minutes, and she'll address all of your questions at the end of the webinar. So all of the questions that you submit in the Ask a Question tab, she will address. And for those of you who are not using IB, stick around at the end, because my partner in crime, Risa, will jump on and give you a little demo of how IB works. So without further ado, I'm happy to welcome Celeste. Celeste, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
And thank you for that introduction, Tara.
Of course. I'll let you take it from here.
Okay.
Okay.
I'd also like to thank Ivy for inviting me to do this webinar today, and thank our guest for joining us. I appreciate your time. Some of the reasons why I am so excited to present this webinar today: as a residential interior designer, window treatments are my favorite aspect of what we do. I often feel that it's the fabric that inspires the space and the color palette, and I often feel that the window treatment completes the space. As an interior design mentor, I believe that interior designers that focus on custom, one-of-a-kind, unique products will set themselves apart and will have more success and won't have to worry about competing with the internet. And I think window treatments are a great place to start. With that said, I'm going to transition into the presentation, so bear with me for a few seconds. Okay, so let's talk about the benefits of decorative window treatments. For the designer, it's an opportunity to express your talents as a designer, to set yourself apart from other designers and create a unique style. It enhances and completes the space and gives your work a polished look. It's a category that can be very profitable if you know how to do it right. For the client, it frames a view. Most of our clients have beautiful views, and it's our job to frame it like a picture and respect that view and do a beautiful job in completing it. It provides visual beauty, and oftentimes it ties the whole space together. If you've got a pattern treatment, it inspires the rest of the space. It also helps with acoustics and installation. How many times have you been in a restaurant and you could hardly hear yourself talk, let alone the person you were with, and you wanted to take time? Are we still here? Okay. And all right, I think she's okay. She was texting me. So, but you wanted to think about what kind of fabrics can I add to the space, or what kind of acoustical tiles, because we can't hear ourselves even speak. So acoustics are very important, and they're important when we're entertaining. You know, we've been at holiday parties, and acoustics, you want to make sure that you've got good fabrics and good products in those rooms that help absorb those. Insulation is also important. Most of our heat and our cold goes out the window through our windows. So we've got to consider that, not just with decorative window treatments, but our privacy shades as well. I want you to be inspired by fashion. I've I've subscribed to Vogue magazine for my entire life. I think it's a great way to inspire your designs. Think about the draping, the colors, the patterns, the textures, the different sheens of fabrics. All of these things are a great way to inspire your projects. So if you don't subscribe to Vogue right now, I suggest that you do, or some kind of fashion magazine. Page through it. There's not a single thing that I would ever wear because I'm way too short, but I think it's a really fun way to inspire your designs. I also want you to think of yourself as a red carpet designer. Instead of having celebrities, your celebrities are your windows. They come in all shapes and sizes, just like the stars do, and we've got to respect that and make them beautiful, just like the fashion designers do. I want you to step into the shoes of your favorite design houses, Dolce & Gabbana, Ralph Lauren, Versace, Coco Chanel, whatever designer inspires you. I want you to put yourself in their shoes, and not just for this presentation, but going forward, I want you to get excited about the designs that you create. Here's some rooms that I've completed in recent years, and we've all had to deal with projects that we've had to work with their existing furniture. In this top left-hand corner, she had these case goods and she wanted to keep them. The room was very traditional before, and we wanted to make it more transitional. So the bedding, the sectional, all of those things really enhanced the space, but it wasn't until we did the window treatments that it really highlighted the room. Those Roman shades serve as privacy shades, room darkening shades, and the cornice is just clean and sleek and it really completes this space. On the right upper side, we've got a room. In this case, I had to work with her existing upholstery furnishings. I had worked with her on another home. So it's the second time I had to work with these pieces. We've all had to do that. And so we added the beautiful lighting, we added the frame molding, we added some new tables. We did everything, but it wasn't until the window treatments went in, and as you can imagine, there was one that mirrors it on the other side, that it really framed that wall and also made it feel like the music room, living room that it was supposed to be. On the bottom left side, we've got a very contemporary space, and this is a room that these window treatments serve a lot of purposes. One, there's a television on the side that you can't see. So when those draperies get closed on, early evening in the summer, when it's west exposure, they really help create a buffer for that sun that's shining in. They also insulate the room. They also protect that black sofa from fading, and it's got a cathedral ceiling, so they work acoustically as well. So they've got a lot of things to live up to, and they do. And they're done on a ripple fold drapery rod, which serves really well if you want to stack something very tight. On the bottom right, we have a room that has a lot of detail to it already. It's really a beautiful room without the window treatments, and yet the window treatment just finished it and softened that shutter, which made the client extremely happy. Where do we find inspiration for window treatments? Well, I believe a library is a must. I know that a lot of younger designers might not think about getting books anymore, but books are really a great portion of our inspiration for our projects. So have a library, go to Barnes and Nobles, get yourself a cup of coffee and enjoy building a library of window treatment books. There's a lot of great ones out there. Magazines, Veranda, Architectural Digest, subscribe to those and build your the binder of window treatments. I rip them out. I don't keep the magazines more than a month or two, and that way you're not stacking up piles of magazines and wondering what to do with them, and you're also not having to search back into that magazine. So rip them out, keep them in binders. I have inspiration for furnishings, for wall decor, for all kinds of things. It's a great project for an intern to work on. House and Pinterest, they create idea books and boards. This is a great place to do, when you're waiting at the dentist appointment or something, you can build your idea boards or your Pinterest boards, and it's really a lot of fun. And I'm sure a lot of you are already doing that, but be ready. So when you meet that client and you thought, I've got the idea already for this. Instagram, following design enthusiasts and other interior designers. It's a great way to inspire your projects. But save them to your collections, otherwise you forget where they are. And also visit show houses and model homes and historical tours of homes. And I'll share something with you a little later where I found at a historical home. It really was exciting. Building confidence in presenting decorative window treatments. You must have a quality elevation to present to your client. Only 10% of the population can visualize, and most of them are probably interior designers or fashion designers. So we've got to use as many tools as possible to help that client see what we can see in our head. Explain the details you are proposing with confidence and passion for your custom design, and provide the benefits. Pricing should include everything. There should be no hidden charges. The only thing I don't add into my pricing for a window treatment is sales tax. But the shipping, the hardware, the installation, everything is one number. Now that I'm using Ivy, it looks really clean and beautiful. It's a great way to present your projects. Present the price last. And I'll show you another slide where I'm doing that. Have it typed up in a formal quote or on Ivy, which I think is a great way to do it. And no need to say a word. You don't have to say those numbers. Just let them see it. Here's an example of me in a presentation. I always have a presentation folder or a binder. My Ivy pricing would be in the back of that. I've got fabrics. I've got a PowerPoint presentation on larger projects. As many tools as you can use. Come totally equipped. One of the things that I do, because, you know, as you're going into the presentation, you're going to start seeing and hearing the objections. You can see their body language. They might start saying something, because clients, it's a give and take with clients. Don't take it personally if it's not quite right, or if they don't even like the fabric. I always give clients 2 fabric options when I present a window treatment, 2 totally different scenarios for the whole space. And so going through that process, you've often collected a ton of other fabrics. So I bring those in a shopping bag. I leave them in my car. And if I see that they're objecting to some of the fabrics, even though I have a client profile, ask my clients a lot of questions before I even get to this point. Clients don't always know what they don't like until they see it. And sometimes like, well, you know, that's really nice, but it just doesn't speak to me. It doesn't inspire me. So you've got to be prepared to deal with those objections. You don't want to walk away and have to deal with it later. You want to do it now. So I'm going to share something with you a little later where I brought that bag in, and it was a perfect example of how my space turned out even better than I'd imagined. You need to make them feel like they are standing in the space. As many elements as you could put in that elevation is so important. In this upper left-hand corner, this is an elevation where we were working with the existing vanities. They had very small mirrors, so we were doing a tiled framed mirror and the lighting on the mirror. So I wanted to show her that. But it wasn't until we put the valance in there, and that's just a valance, it's not a working shade. And it really completed the space and pulled it together. So you want to sell them the entire package. You don't want to add the window treatments later. Don't do it as a separate layer. Do it all from the beginning. In this upper right-hand section, this is an example of a very expensive fabric that really helped to show it in elevation. This fabric was $300 wholesale a yard. And so to be able to show that in an elevation in our design program, we can import from the fabric vendor's website, and it really does a great job of showing this is what it's going to look like. And it looks exactly like that. I'm not showing after pictures for sake of time. In the lower left-hand corner, we had designed an entire home, but this pizza oven was something that we got to do. It was really a fun project. And the client, all month long, she was talking about Ralph Lauren, and she loves black. So I thought, while I'm showing her this pizza oven, I'm going to throw the window treatments in right now. So we put this in this elevation. It's a beautiful sunroom / pizza room, and you're probably thinking, why would you put black in a sunroom? Well, we had this fabric sent away and treated. You can actually UV filter, put that on there to protect it. So we added that extra part. The lower right-hand corner, this is a mudroom, pet center, and we designed the cabinetry in CAD. So we cut that out, cropped it, and scanned it and put it into this elevation so the client could really see the space complete. The wallpaper is a Tebow wallpaper. It's not quite to scale, but it gives a pretty good idea of how it looks. And the client at this point of the product, and this happens often, clients start saying, oh, I don't know if I want to spend money on window treatments, but you've got to show them that this completes the space, and it does. Small windows do count. So you've got to think about, like you're designing for like Kate Hudson. She's got a very tiny little frame, and you don't want to overpower her delicate little frame with too much fabric. So you want to be very light with the fabric and just the right proportions. So these are all examples, I think, of small windows that really do that justice. This window that's second from the right, that window is only 16 inches wide, and it's in a college-age girl's master, her bathroom. And we did a chandelier, and this really just added an extra detail. It was really a nice addition. The windows to the right are in the upper portion of a foyer, and it might have been enough to do just the center window, but it wasn't until we added those, the left and the right window, that it really kind of pulled it all together and created one element. You've got to be able to show them how you're going to frame the view. This is a great program that we use because you can take a photograph, if you can get a clean photograph, and you can build over that so that they can see. You know that clients are very protective of their view. They're protective of their light coming in the room. So you've got to show them. You don't want any unhappy surprises at the end. You only want happy surprises. So in this case, she did have a happy surprise because these have been recently installed and they look more beautiful in real life than they do in these elevations. But it was a matter of getting that picture. Now, if you don't have a program that does that, you can also do this, or if you don't use an elevation program, if you do hand renderings, you can take a picture of the space, you can print it out, you can use tracing paper and build your design over that on the tracing paper. And you can actually photocopy it, and you've got your window treatment elevation that could look very much like this. Complement the architecture of a space. This project on the left is a second home for a client that I'd worked with on her first home. And when we first started working together, she wanted to get all 4 of her kids' rooms done first. So I was biting at the bit to try to get to this room because I knew this was not her style, and it was just really outdated and heavy. And as you can see, it does not complement the architecture. It feels low and weighty at the bottom. All the windows feel segmented, where when we showed it to her in elevation on the right, doing those lighter grays and connecting it all. Cornices often work very well for bays. It just pulled it all together and really made a beautiful space. I wish I could show you the after picture. It's really nice. We've got a couple of chairs and a table and a lamp, but I want to explain as much as what you should be doing on your projects as I can. So go to Instagram and see that. Okay, give them 2 options, not only in the fabric options, but it's a good idea to give them 2 options with the design of the window treatment. In this left side, we were doing this entire study. This client had started a charity, and she had this really dark, dumpy looking study that we were working on. And we were at the last part of this project, and the window treatments, I didn't do the elevations until the end. And this, I'd worked with her on a lot of projects, but the budget was starting to get tight. And she had happened to show me this picture of the window treatment on the bottom left. And I knew that was going to cost her a lot more. Plus the fabric is embroidered. So I thought the cornice could do a better job of showcasing that embroidery. So I showed her both options. She picked the cornice, and it saved her $1,200. So be conscious of of clients' budgets too. In the center section, looks like I like cornices. I do a lot of cornices, but not on every project. But cornices do work really well on bays. In this case, it was a living room, and the client likes to sit and read. There's a sofa right across from that window, and she sees a lot of neighbors walking their dogs at night, and she wanted privacy. So she thought she wanted a heavier Roman shade to close at night. But I felt like that might be just a little too heavy for a living room. So I wanted to show her the sheer option. And this might be the only time I suggest lining a sheer, but the sheer Roman shade, you can line it with another sheer by putting a plain sheer behind, and it hides all the cords. This is actually a pattern sheer. It's really pretty. And so it gives it just obscures the view a little bit. So she went with the top version of this window treatment. On the right side, this client was a former decorator, and we went through a million fabrics before we got to this one. This one was the one that was in the right price point, and she really liked it. So this is a sunroom. There were like 6 other windows in that space. There were a lot of windows, but she really wanted to put the shades on the lower portion of the windows, and I wanted to put them high. So we did the elevations to show her how it would look, and she chose the upper one with the shade up higher. Now we're going to talk about how you can make money with doing this. But before I do that, I'm going to take a quick drink of water. Okay, this was a client that had never worked with a designer before, but her father owned the construction company that built the St. Louis Arch. She was a total control freak. She had built many, many homes, and she's got homes in multiple states. So she hired me to do something with this fireplace. And it happened to be that I had just done a project very similar to that. And it was somewhat similar to what we did, a little bit different, but I had the solution for that. But I told her that we should also consider window treatments. But she said, no, it's going to be, I don't want to block my light. I don't want to take away from the fireplace. So we did the fireplace. We got it all installed. You can imagine what that was to get that in there, and all those measurements that took place at the top there. It was, yeah, it was a lot. So I said to her, okay, I've won your trust now. You love how the fireplace looks. Let me do an elevation for this and show you how the window treatments, we'll do sheer window treatments and show you how it will enhance and actually make you focus on the fireplace. So I brought over some samples of sheer fabrics. I showed her the elevation, and she liked it, but she's such a control freak that she said, well, I don't know if I love these fabrics. So can you take me to the design center and let me pick out a fabric? So I did. So we went to Kravitz showroom, a local showroom, and on all their windows, they had this beautiful gauzy sheer that had this gold thread going through it. I had checked it out before, and I knew it was very expensive. So that was the one she loved. She was very attached to that fabric. That was her choice. That was her contribution, and she was very proud of that. So at the end, these window treatments, the material cost $4,100. Fabrication and installation was $1,592. $56.92 was the net. My markup was 50%. The profit was $28.46. Sold it for $8,538. Plus, I had 12 hours of consultation time just for the windows. I made more money on the window treatments than I did on the fireplace. This is where you need to be investing your time, girls and guys. And 50% markup is what I do now. I used to do 40%, and I'd say if you're an independent designer, 40% is minimum. Even though you might not have a lot of overhead, there are expenses in our business. My office happens to be above my detached garage. I have 3 girls that come and work for me. We need help in our business. So allow yourself to make that money. If you've got a retail space or a store, you've got to cover that. So you've got to go higher than that. And sometimes you can. Here's an example of bringing that shopping bag into the client's home when she started objecting to the fabrics. Well, these are pretty, but they're not quite my taste. I really want something that really speaks to me and get excited about. So I said, well, I've got this bag out in my car. Let me bring it in. Maybe there's something in there that you'll love and I didn't think to use. So I brought it in, and she pulled out the most expensive fabric in that bag. And this happens quite often. Of course, the beautiful hand, the fabric, the screen printing, everything is so beautiful about these. And the reason why I didn't chose to show her this one is because it was the first time I was working with her. Plus this fabric, not only did it cost $235 a yard net, it had a 70-inch repeat. It's a Bunny Williams fabric, 70-inch repeat. So I excluded it because of that. But she wanted to work with it. She said, this is my fabric. I love this. And she was holding it tight to her chest, just like they do when they can take control of that project. So we showed it to her as the drapery paddles, which made sense because it was a 70-inch repeat, but she wanted to see it as the valance too. And this was a case where I had conversation with my workroom to find out how can we make good use of this, without ordering a full repeat for every section of that valance. So we were able to use all of both sections of the repeat in this window treatment valance. And we only had scraps left, literally. So this worked really well. Here was a project that the client chose the fabric, the net price, we only needed, and what I wanted to focus on here too is mixing fabrics, less expensive fabrics with your more expensive fabrics, and can kind of bring it to a more reasonable price. In this case, we needed 13 yards of the floral fabric, 37 yards of the solid fabric. Net was $74.04, profit $3,700. Sold it for $11,000. And I also had about 10 to 12 hours of design time on this. So are you getting it that window treatments can be a very profitable part of your business? Before I read this, I'm going to take a drink of water. Things to look for when selecting a quality workroom. You want a workroom that does the measure, the fabrication, and the installation. The less eyes on this window treatment, the less hands involved in this window treatment, the less chance of there being anything that you wish you had done a little bit differently. You want a workroom that will communicate with you through the process. If there's something that they feel isn't quite right and they need to adjust, you want to do it then. You don't want to do it after it's installed. That's awful. That really is disruptive to the client, and it doesn't serve you well as a designer. Do you want a workroom that has a large enough staff to work efficiently and fabricate in a timely fashion? Mine is about 6 to 8 weeks. Sometimes she's a little faster and sometimes she's a little longer, but usually I'm doing the whole space. So by the end of all the other products, we're ready to install. So it usually works out just fine. You want a workroom that can come up with solutions. I know all of you have had these windows and we're thinking, why would they put 2 inches on one side of the window and 6 feet on the other side? Couldn't they have moved it over just a little bit? We all have very challenging applications. So we need to have a workroom that can come up with solutions and help us with that. And you want one that's going to stand behind their work. If something does go wrong, you want them to whisk that away and get it right and bring it back as quickly as possible. These are some valuable tips for success that my drapery workroom owner sent me this week. So I'm just going to read these to you. There's some really great ones. The most successful projects begin with interaction with your workroom at the concept stage before final presentation to the client. At this point, you want to submit a photo of the window, some preliminary measurements, a sketch, a photo, or rendering of the design idea, and fabrics being considered should be submitted. One of the most common mistakes designers make is choosing a fabric that is not suitable for treatment. Having knowledge of textiles is crucial. Pay attention to the properties of the fabric, how soft or crisp it is, how stable the weave is. Natural fabrics like cotton, linen, and silk, they react most to environmental changes. I never use them in southern or western exposures. You will exceed your client's expectation if your windows look fabulous and functions well. I'm going to provide a PDF for this for anyone interested, and I'll talk about that at the end. Pleats. Well, I think that these are the pleats that I like to use for a more contemporary and casual setting. Flat pleat, ripple fold, grommet pleat, and a cartridge pleat. These are very simple. They look good without a valance over them. They can really work well in a more contemporary setting. In a more traditional setting and more formal setting, the pinch pleat works very well. The inverted pleat is a beautiful pleat if you're not going to put a valance over it. The goblet pleat is a lovely pleat, and you can often put a little covered button right below that goblet. And the Parisian pleat or Euro pleat is a very pretty pleat too. So these are some pleats to keep in mind when you're designing your window treatments. When to use a rod pocket? Almost never. Rod pockets just don't hang like a pinch pleat do. Even if you're going to cover it with a valance or a cornice, you want to use a pinch pleat drapery. Rod pockets, a lot of times I've heard designers using them to save money. It's a bad idea. It's really not that much of you're not saving that much anyways. You don't want that fold. It just flares at the bottom. It just does not hang correctly. The only time you want to use a rod pocket window treatment is when you have a specific reason to use it. On this example on the right, this was a treatment that we tied back very high, so that really helped. We could get all those tiny little folds in it. This happens to be in a butler's pantry. The cabinetry is on the left wall, and so we're just kind of showcasing that cabinetry really nicely, and it worked well in this application. But that's the first time I've done a rod pocket in eons, so don't use those very often. Embellish. Don't forget your trims. We love jewelry and purses and shoes and sunglasses. Girls and guys, I just love to look at all the fashion that everybody's wearing these days. It's just so much fun, and I respect that. And so you want to make your window treatments a one-of-a-kind product by embellishing them with trims whenever you can. Often clients will say, oh, I don't like trims. Well, maybe they haven't seen the trims that you've seen. So speaking of, these are Braimar trims. They had some beautiful images on their website, so I pulled them from their website. And there's a lot of fun trims out there. They're not all the heavy ones that we used to use all the time. So have fun with these. Incorporate them in your projects. Don't make it an afterthought. Think of it as, oh my gosh, this trim, where's the fabric I can put with it? Really think about how you can use these as you get them. Have fun with decorative tapes. Aren't you loving all the beautiful decorative tapes that our vendors are sending us? There's just so much fun just putting it on a lead edge. These are also Braimar decorative tapes, so check them out. On the right side, this is a project that earlier I talked about historical tours. I had always wanted to go tour the Biltmore, and I did in 2015. And I happened to be a year into a long project where I got to pick out everything, every element for this home, including the exterior elements. And I was designing about 30 window treatments for this home, so I needed to do something. I was just looking for inspiration. I walked into the study in the Biltmore, and I thought, oh, wow, that's really just a nice look for their hearth room. I hadn't used a tapestry since the 90s, but I thought it was just the perfect thing to use on this particular project. And yet an inverted pleat valances, and that's what they had at the Biltmore. Drapery hardware is a very important part of this, but I suggest that you work with your workroom on drapery hardware. I used to order it myself because I thought I could make more money, but I would always have an extra ring or too many brackets or not enough, or it's a complicated part of what we do when we're building window treatments. So it's important to consult with your drapery workroom, have them tell you what lines would be best if you're doing really heavy drapery or really long expanses or bays. Let them help you out with that and let them order it. Most of the time, your drapery workroom will give you a good price on it, and a lot of times they rep that line, so they make a commission. So let them deal with it and cut it to the right size and bring it to the project for you. These happen to be Brimar and the Finial Company, who are two great lines. Lining. Lining should not be an option for your projects, for your window treatment projects. Always line your window treatments, except for sheer. Occasionally you will line it like I did it in that example back in the earlier part of this presentation. But always line that, and don't even talk about lining with your client. They don't need to know about it. It's a finished product. It gives consistency from the outside of the house, and it also protects your fabric. And more than not now, you should be considering alternatives to a standard lining. Adding a flannel inner lining is a great way to make a silk more billowy and luxurious and give it a little bit more weight. But blackout lining is also a great thing to consider, not just for room darkening, but for protecting your fabric. Most of the time, all the time really, our window side panels or draperies are going to be on the glass, on the trim, and on the wall. So you're going to have light feeding in through the glass and not on the trim and the wall. So blackout lining can give it a more consistent look, especially if it's a pattern or a loose weave fabric. So you need to consider using blackout lining. What I do is I carry samples of all of these with me. And so when I'm showing and presenting window treatments to clients, I can hold it up and make my decision. I don't really discuss it with the client. I don't think it should be their choice. I think it should be your choice and the drapery workroom's choice. Fullness. Fullness is a really important part of what we do. A lot of times you get an expensive fabric and you want to save money and do one width instead of 1.5 widths on a side panel. A lot of times we're doing stationary side panels and shades. So I always do at least a 1.5 widths. Otherwise it becomes too skimpy. In this example, we did the elevation with 2 fullness. I think it's always easier to start with more fabric and then cut it down. It's always easier to come down in price than it is to go up in price. And when we presented this to the client, and that was another good reason to show it that way, because then they could see, well, you know, that's more glass than I want to lose. I don't want to lose this view. So can we go down to 1 width? Well, we met in the middle and did 1.5 widths. And as you can see in the photograph in the top left, any less than 1.5 widths would have been very skimpy, especially when you have taller windows. So you want to do no less than 1.5 widths. On draw draperies, you want to do a minimum of 2.5 widths. Last but not least, I want you to establish yourself as an expert. You are now a fashion designer in the window treatment business. I want you to set yourself apart and enter contests and really post on Instagram, Facebook, showcase your work so that you can be proud of it and have clients say, wow, I saw that post on there and it's really beautiful, you know, and have them thinking about you. In this particular situation, this is a really fun project. It's a great client. This was my first project I worked with on this client, and they had some unusual things that they wanted. For one, she had 2 pieces of Patrick Nagel artwork, and you can see one of them in here. She wanted this to be her knitting room. She does beautiful work and she makes beautiful sweaters. She wanted it to be a guest room, of course. And she wanted an Asian influence. Those were some tall orders. So went looking for fabrics and found this collection on Eastern Accent's website. A lot of you are probably familiar with them. And so they offer some completed products like the pillows that you see on that daybed. But we had them do customization too. They did a custom cover for that daybed, that old, beautiful old Biscayne daybed. The ottoman was something in their standard line. But the window treatment is really what makes this room very special. This was our design. And it was so fun for them to make that they wanted to come out and do the photography for this. So they used it in their ads after they photographed it. And then our drapery program, Dream Draper, which is what we build our elevations in, they had a contest. And literally, it was like 30 minutes before the contest. You could, you know, just submit your contest. It was on a Friday. It was 4:30. It was 5 o'clock. It was done. So we submitted this, and we won first place. So we got a monetary compensation, and Dream Draper has been using it to promote their software too. So you want to create this expertise of yours. Okay, now I just want to share something with you. One of the things that PDF I mentioned, I'm happy to share that with you. And I'm also happy to share a window treatment pricing guide. It's really easy to forget an element when you're pricing your window treatments. So it's so important to have something in front of you that shows all the different categories of what you need to put, all your trims, your hardware, your lining, all of that. So I created a document that helps me remember that, because I have forgotten. So I don't want you to forget. That's the design mentor in me. So in order to get that, what I would ask you to do is send me an email. And with that, I would like to have permission to add you to my email list. I only send one email a month. And at the same time, I'll return that with the PDF and my pricing guide. So you just send it to gingerlinedesign@gmail.com. Again, gingerlinedesign@gmail.com. If you're if you're on my list already, just let me know that you're already on the list so I don't have to add you to it. And I am going out of town this afternoon, so you won't get this until next week. I just want to make you aware of that. So at this point, I'm going to end this presentation. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'm going to open up for some Q&A. Ready for questions? Why would you not show sales tax? Okay, well, I do show sales tax. I just don't add it into the window treatment. I'm sorry, the question was asked by, oh, it went down there. Susan Banda asked why I would not show sales tax. I just keep it as a separate line item. I don't add it into any of my products when I am presenting my products, because sometimes it just puts them over the edge. And sales tax is different from neighborhood to neighborhood, so in my community. What software are you using for illustrations for clients? Michelle Guerrero. Thank you for asking that question. It's a great question. We use Dream Draper by Evan Marsh, and it's meant for draperies, but we do everything in it. We really can build elevations for tile, we can do floor plans, and we can do a lot with it. And when I say we, I have girls that do this for me. I don't do it. So I'm from the old school. I did hand renderings, and even though I went back to school to learn CAD, it's not my favorite thing to do. So I have people that do that for me. Okay, I had two questions about the software, so we've got that down. Okay. Adriana McCrath asked, when you do a window treatment job only, no other design, do you charge time as well? I charge for all my time. I always charge for my time. If I can't be working with this client, I'm working with this client, that's my time. So I do charge an hourly fee for all of my time, for everything. So for more of you that would like to know more about that, this is why you should get on my email list, because I talk about this all the time. So, okay, so we've got, work my way down here. Somebody asked, will we be able to listen to the webinar? Jane Curl, is there a link to review? That I think is a question that Tara will answer. Where do you normally place your tape on the drapery panels? Do you go right to the edge or hold it off a little? Susan Banda, that was an excellent question. And this is something that I have a conversation with my drapery workroom, because we have that lead edge that returns back. So sometimes it is nice to set it back. That wasn't the example we saw in the Braimar, but normally I do set it back a little bit. It's an excellent question. Why would you not talk with your client about lining and weight? This is a Susan Banda question too. It's just a conversation. The clients I work with it's not that I'm trying to hide it from them. It's the clients don't want to be bothered with it. In my case, my clients, I deal with a lot of high-end profile clients, and they just don't. If you want to have that conversation, you can, but what you might find happens when you do that is they think, oh, is that costing me more? Oh, well, maybe I don't want that. Maybe I just want standard lining. So that's a conversation that you could open up to more objections. So I avoid doing it. I used to talk about it, and that's why I stopped talking about it. So it's your choice, really. Can you repeat the name of the software? This is Morgan. It's called Dream Draper. It's 2 words, and it's by Evan Marsh. And they have you can subscribe to it just like you can the Ivy software now. Can you share a few places for a wonderful yet simple business website? Jane Curl. That's probably not a question for me necessarily, but I probably could answer that. WordPress is where you go for a simple but a nice website. And of course, you can do that on House too. It's a good start. Okay, Liz, often you see drapery panels set above the height of the window. Is there a rule of thumb as to how high it should go? Liz, that's an excellent question, and thank you for asking that. It really depends. It depends on if you're only doing drapery panels and their side panels. I don't like to go too much above and take it away from the frame. I like it to be part of the frame. So sometimes it's right above the frame. Sometimes it's 3 or 4 inches above the frame. I generally don't go as high as 6 inches. The only time I would do that is if I had a valance that was mounted to the ceiling, and then you can put your window treatments wherever you want. So, but that's another window treatment. So just checking to make sure I've got all of them. I did.
You've got all of them. Thank you so much, Celeste.
Thank you so much, Tara. This was so much fun. Sorry for the problems in the beginning, but
oh no, that's okay. That's okay. If you have any final questions, this is your last chance. Now that she's here on screen, you can just put it in the live chat. If not, we'll go ahead and get started with an Ivy demo.
And good luck. And girls, you got to pay attention to this Ivy demo. It's really a wonderful product.
Thank you so much, Celeste. Thank you again. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, I'm going to bring on my colleague, Risa, who will walk you through Ivy. Risa, I just invited you.
You hear me? Okay, great. Well, I really loved hearing Celeste this morning. She's super informative and definitely really good information that I wish I had. I was a project manager at an interior design firm here in San Francisco, and unfortunately, we only charged a purchase fee of 20%. So imagine if we were charging the 50% purchase fee that Celeste spoke about, how much more profitable we would be. And the goal of this session today is really just a quick overview for those of you. I know that Celeste mentioned Ivy and mentioned another software. I also want to show you how you can format your Ivy invoice or proposal to include the different layers of window treatments. Ivy is something I wish I had. Hi, Sarah. When I was running the interior design firm, I was in between QuickBooks and Excel and Harvest, and Ivy kind of encompasses all of that into one program. So if you are already using Ivy, feel free to stay. And I can show you some tricks, but really for those of you that aren't using Ivy, I want to show you a couple cool features that can really help you be more profitable, in that we spend so much of our administrative time compiling these presentations, putting together the information, and that's not really where you're making money. As Celeste said, you're making money selling the products to your clients, networking and building relationships with your vendors, right? And you want to be doing, 10 or 20% of your time, that 10 or 20% to be administrative, and the other 80 or 90% of your time to be design, because that's where you make money. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen right here. Let me mute my camera right here and share my screen. All right, so you should be able to see my screen right now. Let me know if you can. All right, and definitely this is the main homepage of Ivy. I'm just going to give you, again, a quick overview of how the software works, and then happy to jump on a longer conversation with you. I want to dive right into the proposal. So I've created a project right here. And what I love is that designers typically don't know their numbers. I ask designers on a basis, they'll be like, oh, Risa, well, should I do this? Should I do this? And I'm like, well, what's your gross profit margin? What your gross profit margin should be 40%. And they're like, I have no idea. I don't know how to calculate that. I don't have time to look at my numbers. But with Ivy, right when you log into your account, you can see your revenue, you can see your hours tracked, you can see it on the project level. So you know what you've invoiced, what you've proposed, how much you build out for your time. And it really gives you a grasp on your numbers, right? Very important. So I'll go into my proposal, and I want to show you how to make a window covering proposal. Again, just had this conversation yesterday. Window coverings and floor coverings, I think, are the places where you can make the most amount of profit, and you just have to be smart about it. And again, I think those are the two things that really finish off a space, including light fixtures and paint. But those aren't really where necessarily you're going to make the most money. I think if you properly source your window treatments and the fabric and log it correctly in Ivy and get paid through the system, it's going to make your life a lot easier. So I went over to my little website right here, and I found this zebra fabric by Fabricat that I want to use for my window treatments. And I've downloaded the Ivy clipper right here. And this Ivy clipper is so handy because the hand will turn blue and allows you to just clip the information directly from the vendor's website. Okay, and then I can select the product title. I can also make up my own product title. So if you want to call it zebra fabric, you can say that too. I can categorize it right here under fabric. And then I can add my cost, and I can add a markup right there. Like Celeste said, maybe a 50% markup. I like to call it a purchase fee. Or you can say, okay, I want that to be $100, and it will figure out that markup for you. Okay, and then I can select my vendor right here. And let's see if I have Fabricat in here. If I don't have Fabricat in here, then I can easily just go and add my vendor details. And I can add right there. What's great to know is that you can actually import your vendor list right into the system. So that's super helpful. And then you can add the description. You can add it directly to a project. Let's see, I'm working in the Goshen project right there. So I'm going to add it right there. And I can add the full vendor details, the SKU, the manufacturer, the dimensions, any notes. Okay. And then I save the product. And then right there, I can go ahead and I can go to my Ivy account, and I'll just refresh my page. Okay, and it pops up right there for you. So pretty easy to compile your window covering proposal, and you can even say, add a document tag. And then let's say I wanted to add a rod, and maybe I sourced the rod from my workroom, just as Celeste said, and I'm not clipping it from a vendor's website because, like Celeste said, just order everything through your workroom, which I definitely do. I have an excellent recommendation for a window treatment vendor in San Francisco, and he travels up and down the coast. So definitely he is my go-to guy. So I could say, window treatment rod. So again, you can clip from the vendor's website, or you can add your own picture in as well. It's totally up to you. I would just categorize it right here. I can add my vendor. I can add the description, and I can add the price right there. I can add tax or not add tax. I save this, and then I can just go to choose file, and I can pull a file from my desktop. Super easy. And now I have my fabric and my rod. Now, I know there's other components when you're building out a window covering proposal, but for now, I just want to show you this proposal with two elements. And my thing, what I do it's just like when I'm building on a sofa, a custom sofa or custom window treatments, is let's say I have 5 components. I like to actually group it together so that my client just sees it as one line item, okay? They don't need to see that the fabric was $10,000, that the freight was $3,000, that the workroom, they just get to see that it was $20,000 and that's the price that they pay. Take it or leave it. They picked the expensive fabric. And how I do that in Ivy is I go in and I just group this together. And I would say window treatments. And then I can have a group description. This is for your living room or whatever you want to say. You can add whatever picture you want there, or maybe you have a sketch or a drawing like Celeste was showing us that you want to have as the main picture. You can do that. You can also add, like if you have any other attachments, you can add them onto the proposal as an attachment. And I see somebody's asking how I grouped it. Literally so easy. All you do is you go into manage, and then you would, I'm going to delete the grouping right here. So I'm going to delete the group. Just going to show this to you again. So I just go to manage and I literally just clicked on it right here. And I click to group the items and I say window treatments. Okay. So now my client will just see that as one line item. Great. And you can allow them to see the group contents if you wanted to. You can allow them to approve by line item. So when they see this proposal, just showing you what it looks like on the client's end, they see it as one item with one total cost for $500, okay? And they can click on the item, they can see it nice and big, but they don't see all of the nitty-gritty details. When you go to generate the purchase order to your vendor, then the vendor can see, obviously, the breakdown of the components within that grouping. Now, keep in mind, super easy for you to get approval and get paid from your client. You would just send it over. You can give them the ability to pay by credit card, pay by bank transfer. Obviously, there is a transaction fee included in there. And definitely, you know, you can charge the client the transaction fee, or you can bake it into your purchase fee, whatever works for you. Send it out to your client. Super easy for the client to get to pay you. They can submit approval, they can pay you. And then once you get paid, then you can go ahead and generate your purchase order, right? And then you see it breaks it out to the different vendors. So then the vendor knows, okay, Risa Eldon design firm is proceeding with this, and here's her purchase order, and here's all the details of the specifications that she wants. You can get nitty gritty with details here. You can add details in the memo about like no returns. This is amazing because it saves you time where you don't have to do that every time. When I was generating, QuickBooks obviously is an accounting software, and Ivy does sync up with QuickBooks, but it doesn't understand, you can't just use QuickBooks. You would have to be using Excel or some other format, and I would have one proposal for me, one proposal for the client, and one proposal for the vendor, and it got very messy because I was doing a lot of manual calculations, and I was losing a lot of money and leaving a lot of money on the table, which is not the steps to run a profitable interior design business, which you all know. So what I love here, simply add in the estimated ship date, and then everything will fall onto a project management calendar, which we call plan. And then you have all of your to-do list items. You can sort it by your employees. You can see the previous month. You can see the items that have been done. Really helpful to have this calendar. And you also get a project tracker, which I'm sure most of you are putting together separately in Excel. If you're not yet using Ivy, hopefully you're using the project tracker. And if you are using Ivy, we just did a webinar of on a deep dive of how to use the project tracker to its fullest extent. So definitely email us if you need a copy of that webinar. I know it's time that you guys are taking out of your days to watch these webinars, and education is power. Knowledge is power. This will help you take your business to the next level. Taking the time to watch these educational workshops, webinars, will help you be able to strategize and be able to work smarter, not harder. And that's the goal of Ivy. We want to help you get your business to the next level, right? We're not just giving you the software and saying, bye, see you later. We empower you. We have customer service, we like to call them your account managers, that will help you if you have questions. Again, we're real humans, we're not robots, so it does take us a little bit of time to get back to you. We try to get back to you as soon as we can, and we definitely try to provide you with the IB community, the Facebook group, the education, the learnings, the podcast, the magazine. I know it's a lot of content, but I urge you for 1 hour each week to take 1 hour of time that you're not meeting with clients, that you're watching something educational or listening to something educational in the car when you drive. If it's, whether it's a podcast, one of our podcasts, or whether it's one of our webinars, this will help you be able to think more strategically and network with those in the community that you've met through IB. Ask questions, ask us questions. Like Celeste said, she's using IB and she is a mentor. She's amazing. I know people that have worked with her, and I definitely think that knowledge is power. So this is what's going to help you start making more money and not be working and doing invoicing at 2 a.m. Because trust me, I've been there, I've done that, and definitely super, super important. So back to the project tracker. Again, I used to spend hours doing this. It was horrible, for lack of better words. So this will give you a breakdown of everything that you have on order for your client's project. You can see those window treatments, all the scheduling. You can have, if you have an assistant that helps you, you can have her really manage this. You can have a detailed breakdown, which you can download your FF&E schedule to send to your workroom. Sorry, not your workroom, your receiver, that will pop out with the image, with the details, with the date, so that you're more organized and your receiver will love you more. It's just like using a purchase order. Some people say, Risa, I've never used a purchase order in my life. And I say, well, that's not great, because how are you supposed to know your client expenses? How can you track back to, you have to go to these emails and there's all these threads. With IB, you have it centralized and organized in one intuitive place. That's really the goal of using a software like IB. Okay. If I add a more detailed info like SKU, cost, etc. in the proposal, will it save all the info to the product library? Great question. So love that you do the weekly webinars, and you definitely, once you save the item, you clip it, it automatically saves to your product library, so you can reuse that item, and it saves with all of the specifications that you input when you clip it. Then I will show you in the product library how it saves with all those details. Now, it's important to note that I always add like the date that I clipped it, so that if the price has changed or something, it won't automatically change. You will need to go back to the item and make sure it's still in stock, but it gives you the easy link that you can just click back to the vendor's website. And really quickly, just so you can see, this is the beautiful FF&E schedule, super clean, super nice. Again, I exported it with all the vendor information. If you didn't want it to export with the vendor information, you don't have to. Okay, so going back over here, this is, I'm going to go into my vendor. So this is a client portal, vendor portal. You can upload if you're coming from another software, your client list, your vendor list. One thing I love about the vendor portal here is that you can actually save. How many of you have like a vendor list that has a million different usernames and passwords, and it's so annoying? Well, in IB, we have a nice little place where you can save all of that information, so you can access it on the go. Pretty nice and pretty easy. And again, just keyword keeps you organized. Go into the product library. Once you clip an item, it saves directly into your product library with all of the specs that you saved it with. And that little globe sign will take you into the vendor's website right here. See, it saves with the dimensions of SKU, all that. I never clipped the SKU, so that's why it's not in there. But if I go back over here, I can just click on that little Earth globe sign. I don't really know what that icon is called. I should probably learn. And you can see, wow, this is still here and it's still available, and I can purchase it. Okay. Last thing I want to cover today is time billing, everybody's favorite thing, okay? Seriously, everybody's favorite thing. Well, now with IB, we just launched an app. We are so excited about the app. Again, the app is limited. It's just time tracking and to-do list, but you still can track your time on the go, right? This is where everybody loses so much money. Super easy. You can just select the project that you're working on, select the service that you're providing, add your description right here, start the timer, finish the timer when you're done. You can also automatically log the time. If you know you worked 3 hours, you can log it that way too. With a click of a button, you can generate your invoice. So I would just go into my project right here and click a button, and then I have my invoice. It looks branded, it looks organized. I just click this, it grabs all the invoice time, then I click generate invoice, and I have this invoice created right here. And again, I can send it out for online payment. My client can pay me directly through the system. The money goes into my bank account in 1 to 2 days. Obviously, you can pull reports within Ivy. Lots of other great benefits. Super easy to set up your Ivy account. You get the free support, and we do have different pricing. And I'm happy to show you. Let's see if I can pull this up. This pricing, because I know somebody asked. And yes, we can definitely. Our pricing. I think Ellie just sent the link, but monthly is $69 a month, and I don't know why this isn't opening. But definitely, the annual pricing is $749 a year. Both plans, they're a year commitment, and they both come with a 30-day refund, and these are for up to 3 team members. So you could always start on that, and then you can upgrade. Again, very important to know that we just launched the app, so we do have that. And I saw somebody asking about mood boards. We are going to be launching something called room boards, which, oh, you just reminded me. Thank you for calling that out. You just reminded me that I forgot to show you one of my favorite features. How dare I? So I'm going to go backwards for a second, and I'm going to wrap up really soon. I don't want to take up too much of your time. But just keep in mind, when you are generating this proposal, what's really nice is that with a click of a button, you can generate your own custom tear sheet. So right now we have tear sheets, and it's super easy. You just click view tear sheets with pricing or without pricing. And then what it looks like is this. Has your logo, your project name, has the price that you're paying, looks super organized. Again, like have your window treatments on there, have everything on there. And for now, this is what we have. Soon we'll be having a mood board. It will say like living room, and then it will have the 6 square items in the living room in your room board. So that feature is coming soon. We always are listening to our users and their feedback. So please, if you're using Ivy and you have feedback, share with us. If you're not yet using Ivy, I urge you to go ahead and schedule a demo with me or somebody from our team, and we can go much more in depth. Just wanted to have us go over a high-level walkthrough. I see one other question about if you pay for Ivy in US dollars, is the reason why I couldn't use it in the UK. Great question. So right now, we only process currency in the US dollar. Of course, you can pay for Ivy. I do have firms in, I believe, Canada and Australia using Ivy, but just know that you won't be able to use online payments. And I'm happy to jump on a call with you afterwards to discuss. So let me go ahead and bring my screen back over here. And I will stop sharing my screen, so you should be able to see me now. Close that. All right, does anybody else have any questions before I leave you today? I love that you come to the weekly webinars, Kathleen. And definitely, if you have any other questions, please let us know. Alejandra, in terms of vendors, it's actually great. So it comes with no information in the system, right? Once you join Ivy, you'll get access to the Facebook group. You can ask your peers, you can ask other designers, hey, do you have a vendor list? And you can actually take that list and import it directly into the. Before you import it, you can go ahead and delete out vendors or input your rep's name into the document so that when you save it in Ivy, it has all of your pertinent information. Yes, Eileen, so glad to see that. I think you've joined Ivy, and we are just as excited as you are for the room board feature. And I definitely think it's going to be a game changer. For now, if you do have room boards, you can just attach them to your proposal under the attachment section. And is there a fee per user or per company? Great question. So the basic plan, the pricing I mentioned, is for up to 3 team members. And then we have another level pricing for 4 to 7 team members. And then we can create a custom quote for you for over 8 team members. And Gemma, just go ahead and shoot me an email. I can pop my email into here as well. It's just Reisa, R-E-I-S-A @ivy.co. And there, like magic, I don't even have to type and it pops up. And I'm happy to jump on a call with you today to talk through the specifics. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Super excited to show you how to use Ivy and how to input your amazing window treatments into Ivy, that grouping feature. If you need more help on that, you have questions, definitely reach out. We're here to support you and want to help you take your business to the next level. Thank you. Talk soon. Bye.